Hello, all. Uh, Once again, we find ourselves in the middle of the night, and the time right now in the United Arab Emirates, Dubai, where I'm from, is 2:30, almost 2:30. Um, One of the ways of appreciating the subscribers, as I see it, is to kind of pay back in terms of updating on a more regular basis, uh, putting in slightly more efforts into recording these, or perhaps doing live streams like I'm trying now, because recording and kind of following a script, and you don't really get to pour your heart out, right? And for me, communicating with my audience, communicating with the people I so love and adore, and bringing them things that actually mean and matter to me in a way to express myself. Um, I'm not talking about an individual house or a perfume, or an individual house and highlighting all the perfumes within uh, the house. This is what I usually ponder upon, and my analysis on where perfumery stands as of now. The landscape, as you may have it, um, of the modern day, the present day perfumery. Um, I talk about celebrating artists, right? Celebrating artists behind the profound art of perfumery that we so love. We love the scents that we wear, and learning a little about perhaps the house that brought us the scent, the philosophy or the background or the heritage or history of that particular house, the perfumers or perfumer of the house. Today we are going to celebrate the artists in a way where we give them a kind of a placing, if you will. Not really, because there's no particular outlet, or there's no particular forum, or there's no particular place where these perfumers are celebrated in a way. For example, the Art and Olfaction Awards, or the other awards that celebrate perfumery, usually would have winners in the perfume category, genre, etc. Say, for example, Caden, I think, won the best prestigious niche perfume for the year 2025, and I see why. But then we also need to kind of maybe ponder upon if we could celebrate these perfumers in a way where maybe based on the total number of releases they have hits. I'm not talking about duds, and duds is not a thing, because perfumery as an art, I wouldn't call them duds. That's like probably insulting the artist that you want to honor, and that would be contradictory to what we are trying to say here. What I meant to say is how many hits they have in a particular year, um, and so on and so forth. Like, okay, if I say, for example, UAE celebrated the year of tolerance. I'm not sure what year that was, but year of Zayed, year of so on and so forth. So we're celebrating things in all aspects of our lives, but are we truly celebrating the perfumers? Maybe there should be an entity that would kind of gather all the data available to them, and perhaps celebrate the perfumers by awarding them Perfumer of the Year awards, or rank them, if that's even a thing. Either which ways, like I said, I posted an article on LinkedIn. I've worked through it, so I'm going to try to read off some of the things from here, and I'm going to, if required, put my give you my inputs on what I've read in here. The present day landscape of perfumery, as you may have it. We are living through a fascinating moment in modern perfumery where several creative directors and perfumers are hitting their stride at the same time. Are hitting their stride at the same time, but in very different ways. So let's break this down clearly and insightfully. What I mean to say here is, although I'm advocating that the perfumers be kind of ranked, they might be ranked in their area of expertise. Like, say for example, we have these different award categories for perfumes that we so celebrate. Maybe there could be different categories in which the perfumers sit, because like I said, the creative directors behind the perfume, say for example Amouage, the creative director, the head is Reno Salmon. Prehistorically there was Christopher Chong, who was the creative director, and so he probably briefed the perfumers or briefed different perfumers, and then the different perfumers would create their iterations of what they perceived the brief was, and he'd award a perfumer with creating the fragrance for the house, say for example. So creative directors are people who tell you what they require of you as a perfumer, and they brief a particular set of perfumers, and the one that comes out with the best outcome as per the creative director gets awarded the project. And so he creates these different iterations till the time the perfume is finalized and is released to the market. As such, it's a long, tedious process. It is not as simple as it seems to be. Perfumes are not created in factories. There's a whole mindset behind creating a perfume or a genre or releases, and there's several iterations to it. It takes years, many a times, to create a certain scent. It is not as easy as just mixing in some aroma chemicals, some natural, some synthetics, and perfumers alcohol, and boom, you have your perfume. You don't. You need to go through several iterations, and the perfumers would go through several iterations before they take the final pieces to the creative directors or the house, and then they would approve of a particular version, or they would ask them to rework on those iterations or reiterations, and there's a lot of back and forth in the process of creating a perfume. If you understand what I mean. If you don't, please feel free to ask me questions that I may be able to answer to the best of my knowledge, and if I don't, I'll learn something perhaps in due course while answering your questions. Having said that, my question was, is Quinton Beach the #1 perfumer right now? There's no official global ranking system, as I was saying earlier, for perfumers, but Quinton Beach is undeniably one of the most influential and in-demand perfumers of his generation. Multiple sources describe him as one of the most sought-after perfumers in the industry, a leading figure in contemporary perfumery. So a lot of his perfumes are not the norm. They're out of the norm. They're mineralic, they're futuristic, they're kind of space-like creations, if that's a thing. He's not the #1 in any official sense, but he is one of the most commercially and critically successful perfumers working today. So he had groundbreaking releases like Ganymede. He made I think he's made all the perfumes for the house of Marc Antoine Berwa, including Ganymede, B6A3, Encelade, which was a very, very different kind of vetiver, and I truly love all his compositions. Stelia, Aldebaran is a perfume that I'm still I'm still to acquire and perhaps get in terms with. Aldebaran is kind of quite the challenging spicy tuberose kind of fragrance that may not sit well with a lot of connoisseurs right now. But I think it's the perfumes that challenge your senses or challenge you in the best possible ways come up to be the top lieutenants in your collection, and perhaps Aldebaran will someday make it to the top for me. Right now, if I was to probably call out one of my favorite creations of Quentin Biche, it would be Tuberose Esterol Guidance 46 by Amouage, Tuberose Esterol by the House of Maison Crivelli. So he has done quite a bit for Maison Crivelli in terms of compositions. Another perfumer that is kind of coming to the top, if not the number one spot, is Jody Fernandez, who has also done a lot of compositions for the House of Maison Crivelli besides all his other creations, and he specializes, I suppose, in ouds. Well, so as I was saying, Jody Fernandez could be reckoned as the rising force. So Quentin Biche is already on top, in my opinion, my humble opinion. It's not a standing or an official standing in any means. Jody Fernandez is rising rather quick, and is rapidly becoming a major name in today's perfume world, if you may, reshaping the landscape of modern perfumery, a leading figure in niche perfumery, known as the master of ouds. His style is deeply influenced by Middle Eastern perfumery, if you will, which gives him a unique edge in today's oud-obsessed market. Key creations include Oud Maracuja. As I mentioned, he's done quite a few compositions for the House of Maison Crivelli. Oud Maracuja is one of those creations. Haltan, Perfumes de Marley, Blue Talisman, Ex Nihilo. I can't speak enough about Blue Talisman. I can't speak enough about the House of Ex Nihilo, and I am really taken aback by the fact that a lot of people would compliment me on Blue Talisman X-Ray, but then they haven't heard of Ex Nihilo, and that comes as a kind of surprise to me. Ex Nihilo, I think, is one of the houses that people really need to reach out to in niche. Yes, they're a bit pricey, but they offer you something that many others don't, if you ask me. So I have a quick comparison of sorts. I've made a table for this, which I posted on LinkedIn. I'll try to read it off for you, because I probably wouldn't remember everything I've mentioned there, and I'm talking to you while I'm trying to reach out for the table, and I haven't posted the table, which is a shame. It's good that I'm trying to do this. So now I can perhaps put in the table in my comments, and I can mention an apology for not having posted this earlier. If you give me a sec, I should be right back with you. Apologies for not posting this with the photos, or rather not posting this in the photos section of my article. That's so sad. Either which ways, let's work on this a little right now as I speak to you, and I shall post this right now. And now that is posted, I shall try to access this from my desktop where I've saved this. Apologies, I'm really sorry, and I'm really sorry as I'm not sure if any one of you is commenting right now, as I'm not on my YouTube. page as of now. Wow, okay. That's kind of shocking. Where is my article? Where is my table? Wow, this is super inconvenience. Can I open this? How can I access this? Hang on. Hang on. And I hope I'm going to do something that is going to enable me to read what I've mentioned here. So you are going to have to kind of pardon my... Okay, no, that's the RDHP series of things that I kind of posted a while ago. I posted something on the Roja Dove Hot Perfumery, and I've tried to rank them in a way. Let's just try to sort this out, I think, by date. I don't think I have it sorted by date. Okay, I got it. I am really extremely sorry. Aspects of Quinton Biche versus Jody Fernandez. So Quinton Biche has had his training in classic French perfumery. Jody Fernandez is a self-taught perfumer and is a senior perfumer at Gévaudan, the chemical manufacturing house, right? Signature for Quinton Biche would be emotional, modern, luminous. I would even go on to say futuristic. Jody Fernandez, oud-centric, Middle Eastern, Oriental, if you will, textured. The strengths for Quinton Biche is, although they're very futuristic, and a few of them may come off challenging to some, but the fact is, Quinton Biche has a mass appeal and niche artistry. Jody Fernandez is niche innovation plus regional mastery. Regional, again, I would say, where we are, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Oman, etc. I think he's more relevant in those markets, Jody Fernandez. Portfolio-wise, Quinton Biche has a very large and diversified portfolio. Very often you'd see like kind of his DNA coming across through his perfumes, but has a very diversified portfolio, if I may. Jody Fernandez, as of now, may be smaller, but highly distinctive. The market impact that Quinton Biche has is global. Jody Fernandez is strong in niche, and the Middle East. He's a rock star in the Middle East. I'd go on to say that they're not competing. They're shaping different parts of the fragrance world, and that's why I said we probably need to celebrate them in terms of, if not ranking, perhaps they have their areas of expertise, as I was saying. So you may celebrate them in the different areas that they are specialized to be, well, maybe categories, right? So Middle Eastern, global, futuristic, niche, artistic, etc. You get what I'm saying. So yeah, we gave in a few examples of what Jody Fernandez has done. He's not as prolific as Biche, as the best way I can put it, but his niche influence is growing fast. Jody Fernandez, especially in the Gulf region. Quinton Biche versus Jody Fernandez, we've discussed off the table. Please take a look at the table. Quick comparison to crystallize their differences, if you would. Another perfumer that I'd like to mention who just came out of nowhere, at least for me, I wasn't aware of him, is Maxim Axler. He's trained at Maine and is a trained perfumer with growing recognition. So he is the one who composed Caden, which has been the award winner, as I mentioned in the beginning of our conversation, and has won the best fragrance in the niche, prestigious niche category for the year of 2025. Caden is a perfume by the house of Oman Luxury. Oman Luxury Ojar Amwaj. Amwaj was the first to be established as the niche house that kind of glorified, or that kind of put Oman on the map, if you will, in niche perfumery. Ojar and Oman Luxury are two other brands that have come up recently, and they're doing rather well. Maxim Axler, like I said, has composed Caden, which is one of the better compositions from the house of Oman Luxury. Known for blending Western techniques with Chinese cultural influences, already releasing fragrances like Chapter 1, Ajmal, which is gaining traction. He's not yet at the level of Biche or Fernandez, but he's clearly on an upward trajectory, especially in Asia and the Middle East. I'll try to make this slightly quick. I'll take you through the second part, and then perhaps maybe just reiterate a few things that we've discussed, and kind of closing thoughts on things are looking up. Things are really looking up in the world of perfumery, and I'm rather excited for what's to come. Let's not forget legends of the past. We discussed Kurkdjian Biche rather quick. Basically a summary. I might do an in-depth portfolio for these perfumers. I have done a lot of work on LinkedIn that I'll try to bring to you in these late night insights, and we shall discuss other perfumers, other perfumer portfolios. I'll create portfolios for Kurkdjian Biche separately. Jody Fernandez we can cover on. Maxim Axler, who's an upcoming perfumer. Let's discuss his creations in the future coming videos, right? So the present day landscape, as I would have it on LinkedIn, part 2, where I've mentioned one of the great legends, one of the master perfumers of his craft, Francis Kurkdjian, settling into his Dior era. So why I say settling into his Dior era is because perhaps I did not relate to a few of his earlier releases when he took over as the in-house perfumer for Dior. I'm not dissing him. It's not a bash video of any kinds. I do not like talking negative on these artists. Francis Kurkdjian, his own house mason Francis Kurkdjian, masterpieces that he's done all throughout: Absolute Pour le Soir, Grand Soir, Baccarat Rouge, a groundbreaking perfume that inspired and there were so many houses that are still trying to cash in on the Ambroxan kind of the craze. BR Baccarat Rouge 540 Extrait that added a note of I think almonds and took it to the next level. Gentle fluidity silver, gentle fluidity gold, oud satin mood, oud velvet mood that is now discontinued, oud silk mood, and so on and so forth. There's just so many perfumes to name under Kurkdjian, and it's his coming to Dior. That's how I define it. I really got shocked. I mean, I haven't bought anything since he's kind of become the creative at Dior, Francois Demarchi, I really used to love his compositions, be it Leatherwood, be it Kurkdjian. Um, he had a vintage aesthetic with a sense of modernity. There was so much that Franco Demarchi did that kind of left me for wanting for more. First of all, it went downhill for me when Francis Kurkdjian came in and reformulated Dior Parfum. That was by far one of my favorite perfumes from the house of Dior, and that started the downwards trajectory. What finally kind of defined the moment of his coming to Dior was when he kind of created Bois d'Argent in the Esprit de Parfum line of scents, and brought Bois d'Argent to life. He breathed, he breathed, is that even a word? He breath, okay, I'm not getting this. He kind of really pumped life into the veins of Bois d'Argent, but they did not, and I mean they did not touch the scent profile, creating an esprit de parfum or an extrait parfum form of concentration for an existing perfume is not an easy task. It's not as simple as just dumping in that extra the extra oils. It's balancing the act, and he's maintained the DNA of Bois d'Argent, which happens to be one of my favorite perfumes. I call it quiet luxury. It's money, basically, and this was done about more than a decade ago by one of my other favorite perfumers, that's Annick Minardo. Francois Demarchi had reformulated when he came in as the in-house perfumer to Dior, and then Francis Kurkdjian would reformulate it when he came in as the creative director at Dior. Bois d'Argent was the announcement of his coming to Dior for me, and the latest release, that's called Cure Saddle, that celebrates one of the Dior leather bags and the shape of the saddle. It's again a modern kind of a take on second skin. It celebrates leather as a note. It's more of a skin scent, but lasts really a long time. I think it's Francis Kurkdjian at his best. Francis Kurkdjian, I'm sorry, my French is really bad. I'm not trained to speak French at all, but I try to do my best in terms of pronunciations. Kurkdjian's creative direction at Dior is finally crystallizing, as I have mentioned, and the release is like Bois d'Argent, Esprit de Parfum, and his latest offering in the Privé collection, Cure Saddle, proves it. Described as a bold new chapter of sensuality and intensity, Bois d'Argent Esprit de Parfum amplifies iris, ambergris, and incense into a richer, more luminous form. I see a lot of houses have either mastered over the years that accord that kind of replicates ambergris, but it feels like a few of the houses would be using the real deal. Example, Tales of Amber from the House of Goldfield and Banks. It feels salty, it feels mineralic, at the same time it feels musky, animalic facets. Everything that the real ambergris had to offer is either recreated, or I'm not sure if they're using real ambergris, but the price would suggest that they are using kind of real ambergris. The Dior Esprit de Parfums come at a rather hefty price tag of 1,890 for 80 mils, but they're worth it because of the concentration and what they bring to the table. Cure Saddle is a soft, if you ask me, is a soft and sensual leather inspired by the Dior saddlebag, as we mentioned earlier, blending white florals and light woods. So it is, as I mentioned, the skin scent, but the smell profile is addictive. You'd want to go back to it again and again, and somehow it's extremely long lasting. It's a scent that announces Francis Kurkdjian, and I think things are looking up for Dior once again. Things also started with a downward trajectory when after Kurkdjian came in, they kind of reduced the bottle size from 250 mils to 200 mils, and anything that you bought after Francis Kurkdjian would stand out like a sore thumb in your collection of 250 ml giant fragrances, but then you'd need to work around your way to, if you wanted to buy the new Dior's, and I think now is a good time to try Dior. Cure Settle definitely is a fragrance that you should try. Bois d'Argent Esprit de Parfum is definitely a fragrance you should try, and I think here on the things will have an upward trajectory for Francis Kurkdjian and Dior itself as a brand. Its comeback. These releases show Kurkdjian leaning into higher concentrations, as I mentioned, more emotional storytelling, refined couture-like aesthetic. He's moving Dior's Privé line into a more artistic, elevated space, and it's working. That's one thing I'll definitely recognize. The bigger picture, the landscape looks something like this. Quinton Biche, the superstar of modern perfumery, if I may call it. I think quite a few of the people in the perfume game would call Christian Provenzano the rock star perfumer. Quinton Biche I'd call the superstar of modern perfumery. Jody Fernandez, the oud innovator with rising global influence. Maxim Axler, the emerging cross-cultural talent, if you may, and Francis Kurkdjian, the established master entering a new golden phase at Dior. Each is shaping a different frontier of perfumery, and that's what makes this era so exciting for perfume lovers. And I hope I'll be posting more often. I hope to see you in the next post, inshallah. If you haven't still, please subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, share it if you think I've given you something of value. And until the next time, your host Karamullah Kadwani signing out. Ciao. And of course, I need to take some time to stop streaming. Bye bye.